Hello again and welcome to another Articulate Outburst podcast. We took a week off last week, so apologies. It was a little bit of... I was trying to shove everything forward from the recording studio into the the second album. So we've taken quite a bit of footage of that. I'm going to meld it together, comment on it and do some little bits and bobs. And we'd also had a kind of a sideswipe from another band that had got the kind of wrong end of the stick on our lyrics. Obviously I'm not going to go into it on here, but people, and I think I've said it before, that when you're talking about certain issues or singing about certain issues, people take them in different ways, and rather than kind of, and I think this is kind of consistent with anybody who does too much social media, you can kind of penny pinch and not look at the whole and look at the part, overreact and go off. So I guess it's just that's how it's always going to be. I mean, we're a punk band, we're controversial, we're not just going to be singing about daisies and daffodils and skipping through the meadows. It's not how it is. It's the attack on the power structure, and it's an attack on the changing face of society as we see it, for which there will be absolutely no apologies. There's a new format coming out next week. My bandmates have told me that we need to keep these to less than 10 minutes, which I kind of agree with. So I'll set the timer for 10 minutes, see how it goes, see if we can get everything across in that time. Obviously the next one is the 50th episode. Can't believe I've been doing that much talking. Those that know me will, but so again, 50th episode. I'm also going to try and move from the kitchen, as you can see here, into the bedroom. I've set up a kind of little back office, trying to make it look a little bit more adult and a little bit more rocky, a bit more man cave style. So and then again, keeping it clipped. Obviously we're not only did a great job in the studio last week, we came up with some really innovative ideas for some of the songs. I think I've mentioned before, this album is going to be more eerie, a lot darker, a lot more dystopian. And I think there's many things on here that's almost as if the album had been written 10 years ago of what a dystopian future would look like. This album kind of 10 years from now, this album's kind of set that far ahead to kind of look back and say, well, we knew this in 2023. So the album in theory is not exactly set in 2033, but it's kind of got that feel where the advancements of all these kind of the intersectional groups, the politically correct groups, the farmer groups, the power groups, and every other group that you've got to be very careful what you mention and what context you mention it in on here. But there are those global powerist structures, I think, that are kind of made up of a plethora of different interests within it, let's say it that way. And if this continues down this path, then ultimately we'll see ourselves in the future that this album dictates. So it's Orwell's, it's the birthday next June 2024 of the 75th anniversary of the George Orwell's 1984 book. And although I've kind of flirted with this idea quite a while, and the Ministry of Truth and the Ministry of, when the BBC are setting up their debunking system and only one version of the truth will be allowed, you can't help but think of Winston Smith in the kind of bowels of the Ministry of Truth, rewriting the newspapers and putting positive spin on negative news. I always like the chocolate ration story, where the chocolate ration was going from 30 to 25 and that newspaper article was burned, and the chocolate ration was deemed to be 20 to 30 grams, which I thought was pretty clever in that you're getting less, but when you say, it's been increased, people have the belief that that's what's happened. You can pick that scene on YouTube if you want. I might actually link it in the description, to be fair. There is a link on YouTube. You never know where copyright lands and where it doesn't. If I use it for my own benefit, I think then that's copyright, but if it's on YouTube anywhere, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. It's like with music, I'm looking at ways in which I can do me top 10 punk anthems, and you've got to play little snippets and talk about it more than you can play, because you will get sanctioned. YouTube will muffle the song, even though I'm recording it or generally playing it from YouTube, which it seems counterintuitive, but it is what it is. So that's what's coming down the tube. So the 50th anniversary, the 50th stream next week. Quite looking forward to that. And again, I'll intercut it with a bit of studio time. If you go to our Facebook page, I've put a few little tidbits on there, laying the bass track down, laying the guitars down. I've not put anything on for the vocals yet. I really have to go on a diet. There's no getting away from that. The side profile of me singing is just the Pavarotti of punk. Needs to lose weight, there's no doubt about that. So let's crack on. So for 1984, I'm going to give you a taste. The mixes have not been finished yet, which is why I'm not really going to play most of it or any of it. Just going to give you some little tidbits of what we've done. So what I kind of suggested, and I won't lie, this is stolen straight from Pink Floyd, where on Dark Side of the Moon, Roger Waters had some sheets with questions on. Then they got people to come in to read the question, answer what they thought the answer would be, and that's where you got Jerry, the Irish doorman, on, throughout Dark Side of the Moon. So I thought, well, what a better idea, rather than do questions, would be to pick selective quotes from George Orwell from 1984. There's lyrics in the song that are from 1984. Who controls the past controls the future, who controls the present controls the past is the opening line. Then I put my little spins on it. So what we'd kind of come up with is, obviously there were certain things that I'd like to go in, and there were certain things that had to go in. And what I really had to get in there was, it was a cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13. I thought that had to go in. So I got quite a few people at work to say the words that I'd kind of put on kind of prefabricated ideas. And then we actually ended up with one of our, so far, we ended up using the producer at Loom Studios to do it. So let me know what you think. I'll put it on a bit higher than normal because I'm going through I'm not going to get the speaker out again. I think you've seen enough of that. Marshall should be sponsoring this channel. Here we go.
It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks striking 13.
I'll do that again.
It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks striking 13.
So what we did there was, obviously the quote from Orwell was our producer. I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning Grant. He's done all our work so far. He's a good egg, he knows exactly where we want to sound. Loom Studios, available for bookings. I'm not on a commission, but he's good at what he does. So we kind of wanted that to kind of set the scene, and the clock striking 13, we didn't want 13 bells because it sounded like AC/DC's L bells. So just having the one bell. And you would think that this would be easy, wouldn't you? The amount of bells that you can use that are not copyrighted are minimal. Then you've got to put it in a way that make it sound like a church bell. So this is again a testament to the kind of production of the song, to be fair, because we must have spent an hour just on the bell and on the sound of the bell and where it's going to go. And this is where your production time gets eaten up. And you can just keep looking at the clock on the wall, and another hour has gone and you don't feel you've made any progress. Another hour goes again and you still don't think you've made any progress, and it gets a little bit tiresome. So again, it's like the clock is going at double speed. So then obviously within the must go ins was every record has been destroyed or falsified. I don't think that'll come up, it'll come up backwards, won't it? Because I've not got it inverted. So I'm probably best off reading them. Every book rewritten, every picture has been repainted, every statue and street and building has been renamed, every date has been altered, and that process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. And I think that's perhaps encapsulates the whole of the book in just those sentences there. Very, very clever to predict this, very, very clever to see how quickly human beings can be manipulated and how easy it is to fool us. And again, this was a bright cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13. Now, I'm not going to ruin it before I play it as to where these come in, but what I thought I'd do is go through some of the statements that didn't make the final cut, because it still has to be about the music, whichever way you cut it. It's still got to be a song, it's not a book, it's a tribute to the book, and it's a comment on what we've got to put up with today. And that looks like my 10 minutes is over with. But I'll quickly run through the quotes that didn't make it. So I'm going to overrun. So these are great quotes, and they're as relevant today as they've ever been. And I think the Labour Party might be guilty of this. Again, conversations you can't have regarding who has and who hasn't got a penis and what agenda they may or may not be. But doublethink means the power of holding two contradictory beliefs in one's own mind simultaneously and accepting both of them. There are quite a few of these kicking about at the moment. It didn't make the cut for the song. And obviously we know what the quote on Winston's workplace is. War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. I quite like this one as well. The best books are those that tell you what you already know. This is one of my favourites because I think we all do this in the workplace sometimes. If you want to keep a secret, you must also hide it from yourself. I love that one. But if thought corrupts language, language can also corrupt thought. I often see this with the changing of meanings of words, and this is being used quite a bit to kind of either keep you on the hop, keep the language moving away from you. You know, Eskimo became Inuit, and now you can, which is which. I think Laura Townley used that as an example. But yeah, now we go. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. I'm not too sure that's kind of as good as Orwell could be, but I'll put it down as a potential quote for the song. And again, back to it was a quite bright cold day in April and the clocks were striking 13. So we'll cover the song in the next stream because it's the 50th anniversary, the 50th stream. I want it to be a little bit of a celebration and intercut with us in the studio and a little bit of me rambling on. So I've overrun by 2 minutes. Apologies to everybody, and I'll see you in the 50th episode stream. Thank you.